As a young medical student in Vienna, Frantz Anton Mesmer, born in 1734 and living until 1815, was absolutely fascinated by street magicians and their mysterious allure. This curiosity sparked his lifelong interest in what he termed as magnetism. In the mid-1700s, magnets were the talk of the town. Everyone was captivated by their seemingly magical powers. How was it that they were drawn to one another, and yet, if you turned them around, they now repelled each other? Their strange power could be felt through other objects, and they would stick to metal even if you turned them upside down, appearing to defy gravity itself. In his doctoral thesis, Mesmer postulated that since the moon has an invisible pulling effect on the Earth and the tides, it must also have a magnetic effect on human beings. According to Mesmer, every one of us has a sort of magnetic charge inside, which he referred to as animal magnetism. We become ill, he wrote, when our internal magnetism becomes disrupted. In order to heal a sick person, the magnetism needs to be rebalanced. Mesmer came up with many ways to balance people's magnetism. In the same way that metal filings will spread out or come into line when you pass a magnet over them, Mesmer would balance a patient's magnetic field by passing magnets over the body. Later, he progressed to passing metal rods over the body, and finally, he got to the point where he would simply pass his hands over the person. Mesmer would also magnetize water, and when a patient drank it, he would get better. Marrying a rich widow enabled Mesmer to pursue his research and finally set up a clinic in Paris. Paris was a happening place even back then, where new ideas and therapies flourished. His new magnetic therapy became extremely popular, and thousands flocked to be treated by him. Mesmer was up to the challenge, and he found ways to force multiply his abilities, such as large tubs of water, which contained metal filings, with iron rods fixed to the outside of the tubs. Patients could simply sit around one of these tubs and hold onto a rod, and the magnetism would go straight into them, put them into a trance, and heal them. With popularity came jealousy from other doctors. After all, they were using tried and true scientific medical procedures, like bleeding and leeching people, and this young upstart was taking away their patients with this unproven procedure. King Louis XVI was persuaded to open an investigation of magnetism, and he set up a commission of some of the greatest scientific minds of that time. Two notable scientists were the American ambassador to France, a gentleman you may have heard of by the name of Benjamin Franklin, and the inventor of the world's most effective haircut machine, Dr. Joseph Ignace Guillotin. One of their experiments that was especially damning for Mesmer was the magnetic tree switch. Mesmer would often magnetize objects such as a tree, and then he would instruct the patient to sit under the magnetized tree. The patient would go into a trance, and when he awakened, he would be healed. So the commission devised an experiment where they had a patient sit under a placebo tree. That is, the patient was told the tree was magnetized when in fact, it was not. Sure enough, the patient still went into a trance, even though the tree had not been magnetized. Experiments such as this proved that Mesmer's treatments were nothing more than suggestion, in other words, placebo.